If you were alive back then. It was called Love Story. Yes. Ryan O'Neal, Ally McGraw, based on a book called Love Story written by a guy called Eric Siegel. And it was, did these monitors work too? It was pretty good. It was a big hit. It was like the Hunger Games of its day. And my dad wrote a piece in 1971 called Another Sort of Love Story. Right in the middle of a long New Year's weekend full of bright weather on lovely snow and a numbing succession of televised quarterbacks, our dog died. Or to put it absolutely straight, after a family agreement rare in its unanimity, we had his life stopped by a veterinarian who agreed it was the right thing to do for such a painfully and fatally ill animal. His name was John Henry. I don't know why we called him that. I don't think I've ever been more sharply aware of the fine line between here and gone than I was near the end when I held him close on the vet's table. The kind doctor, her eyes floating in tears because she knew him and us, pumped something bluish into his leg, and with the calm, open-eyed patience that characterized so much of his style, he waited that briefest moment until it struck his center and killed him. A couple of polite gasps, and it was over. Slightly undone by my sentiment, and for some wild reason, remembering not Lassie, but Love Story, and the astounding communicative success of Eric Siegel, I will now risk a version of his opening question. What can you say about an 11-and-a-half-year-old dog that died? That he was at least as beautiful as Ally McGraw, and dumber, and a messier eater, that he ran shining and marvelously fast through fields and rolled snorting in snow and floated a burnt auburn blur over stone walls, that he didn't much mind Mozart and Bach, but that violin solos and harmonicas made him howl, that he could destroy 6 glasses with one sweep of his tail, that when I would ask him how he ranked me among the people he liked, he would thump his tail against the floor and grin, occasionally punctuating that with a noise that became a smell. That he was half Irish setter and half golden retriever, and his manners were predictably imperfect. There was a totally non-human quality about his loving. Virtually everyone was a suitable target for his affection. And unlike your one-man brute who will slobber over his master's hand and then dismember the neighbor's child, he menaced nothing, including the rabbits he chased and never got, and the skunks who always got him. Not that he was indiscriminating. He was not a tramp. He did not follow strangers. He was a wide-ranging country dog, but his daily investigations most always brought him home at night. He liked to sleep on rugs, usually where it was convenient to stumble over him. He liked to ride in cars. Best, he liked to be invited on walks. And he worked like a roving scout, around the walker, in front, behind, alongside, often at a dead run, a good distance away. And when he rested in winter, during one of these wonderful dashes in all directions, he would break ice in a stream to cool his belly and his tongue. Although he was forced to live with a succession of cats, I don't think he liked them at all. Yet in most moods but joy, he was a model of understatement. The weary and wary tolerance he displayed at the cat's rude spitting or at their hit-and-run assaults from ambush from beneath a chair was the closest he ever came to expressing real distaste. Obviously, our knowledge about his relationships with other dogs is limited. He probably had wet down bark or bush with every dog within a radius of 3 miles. But he didn't seem to care much for groups, preferring instead to run alone or with just one other at a time. He was alert and forward, but not aggressive. And though his hair bristled splendidly and he growled well when challenged, he had a distinct aptitude for avoiding fights and could walk away from one with a casualness that implied it wouldn't be worth his trouble. In his later years, he was treated roughly by a much younger and stronger dog down the road, but he accepted this indignity in a way that wasn't cowardly, as if it were in the normal order of things that the puppy he had earlier taught to play was now bouncing him around quite badly. Even when he was very feeble and old, he always trotted out to defend his home station. I hope he had a full and happy sex life, but I only know of one affair. It was arranged, and he fathered a litter from it. His partner in this matter was a female dog from a household of good friends. She too was sweet and easygoing, and she looked more or less as if she came from a similarly mixed background. We tell a story about this match. I'm no longer sure if it's entirely true, but the story goes, oblivious to approaching delight, he was taken by car to the vet's for one supervised meeting. The vet said afterwards he felt sure everything had gone well, but perhaps for insurance sake, the two should be brought together again the next day. So the next day our dog was put in the car and driven to his appointment, which was once more declared a success. The affair was pronounced consummated and closed. The dog came home. The following morning, he was found ready in the car. Presumably awaiting another trip and another meeting. Unlike Siegel's doomed creature, this one wasn't perfect. Now and then his taste in food would turn to garbage, and he upset many cans in search of the ripest morsels. He dug holes in lawns. He liked to sprawl on young plants. He was a discoverer of mud. When he found something, often invisible and even non-existent, to bark at, he barked hard and utterly ignored commands to stop it and come the hell home. I am proud of one area of his ignorance. He knew no tricks at all. Unless you count a sort of half-baked paw shake. He employed as a last effort in his perpetual and undiscouraged search for affection. In his last days, he had great difficulty getting up. He tottered weakly on 3 legs and was dreadfully thin. The pain, even muffled with pills, was leaving him stupid with exhaustion. And it became clear past all reluctance that what he needed most was a push out of life. Briefly, I had the conventional and outlandish thought of doing it myself. And so did one of my sons, who likely loved the dog the most. Then with her potion that hit with such shocking and merciful speed, the doctor ended our nonsense. That night I dreamed that my son kept calling him. The boy had a way of calling that dog. I woke. Life gets to be a series of dogs, I thought, and I ticked off those I could remember. Ghosts in the house suddenly. Old dogs. When I slept and woke again, it was cold, half light, and I was almost sure I heard the dog's toenails against the hall floor and his single discreet bark to go outside. I won't live with a lot more dogs, and I won't live with another dog like him.